you'll know when you want change in your life, but it's up to you to make change. And
I could not agree with that more.
no one's going to do it for you. And
Oh,
I remember
absolutely.
like looking in the mirror, feeling like such crap, seeing my daughter like at home, and then like me remembering what I saw growing. I didn't want her to ever meet that version of me. When you're going through these struggles, that's when you're going to grow the most.
Oh, gosh.
That's when you're going to find out who you're made of. And honestly, I don't think God throws anything at us that we can't handle. And when you get out on the other side, you go, damn, I am fucking strong. You know, like I look at life now, like bring it on. If life couldn't take me out with what it threw at me before, I mean, dude, you better be ready for a fight. You know what I mean?
Let me introduce you to Jimmy Queen. Jimmy Queen is somebody who has taken off in social media and with his fitness coaching business. Jimmy has had a really tough life, and that is one of the things that makes him so relatable. He was surrounded by drinking and partying, and he was surrounded by what he thought was cool, and he followed suit. He ended up meeting the love of his life at such a young age. He and his wife met just in junior high, and by the time they were out of high school at such a young age, they had their first child, and they both were forced to grow up very fast. They both struggled with addiction and have since recovered, but they got through a lot, and he shared all of that. It was such a great story. I can't wait for you to hear it, because this is Jimmy, and this is how Jimmy Queen is making his mark. Jimmy Queen.
How we doing?
So glad to have you here.
Yeah.
You are really taking off in the fitness industry. You have taken some things that a lot of people are doing, and you've mastered the art of making it unique, super successful. And there's a lot that goes into that, and a lot that is the reason behind it. So we're going to unpack that.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people would like to know what makes somebody so successful at something that so many people are doing. Like, why you? You know what I mean?
Yeah. You know, there's obviously like everyone in the world wants to kind of jump on social media, whether it's for sponsorships or maybe they want to get into online coaching. I'm not in the best shape in the world compared to certain athletes. You know, I've always held myself high and I've always done my best, but I think where most people get lost is just like authenticity, and like they become unrelatable because they're trying to be somebody else, you know? So for me, I just try to showcase who I am, and being in shape is maybe the one thing that people get brought in right away. But if there's no layers to you, I mean, you're just kind of, there's nothing else to see, you know, and people aren't going to connect to just one thing. Like for me, the gym is like an hour and a half in my day.
Yeah.
So what am I doing with the other 22 and a half?
Yeah.
You know, and I think most people just show the one thing, like how many back workouts can you watch before you've seen it all?
Yeah.
You know, there has to be something else behind you.
Yeah.
And for me, it's just like, I think it's my overall lifestyle, the things I've gone through, like from the struggles I've gone through to the things I've overcome.
We're going to talk about that.
Yeah. And then the family and the job and
we're going to get into all that.
Yeah. So people see all that, you know, and they're like, man, if this guy's doing it,
anyone can do it.
Yeah. You know, so that's what it comes down to.
I think you're humble, because I have a term that I like to use. I think I made it up. I call it the cool factor. Okay. I would say that you have what I would call the cool factor. Now, the definition of that, my self-created term, is I feel like people are just naturally drawn to you. You know, you tend to make friends easily. People are just get along with you. You make friends easily. So this is something that I would be willing to bet has been in you since you were really, really young.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So take me back to your childhood and your first experience where you realized, wow, like people are really drawn to me. So take me back to that.
I think from first of all, like my parents' house was the house. Yeah. You know, like my parents had kids super young. and their friends didn't. So like they still wanted to go out and like have fun, but they were good parents. Like they stuck around with us. They didn't leave us. And so it was like, come over, you know? So I dealt with like, I mean, every personality you could deal with, from like people that were famous to people that were like huge in their industry to people that partied super hard.
These are all your parents' friends.
Yeah. You know, so like some of them fought, some of them were nice. And I mean, just a very, very broad variety of characters, you know.
And how old are you? You're
second I was born. Like,
oh, you were just exposed to all this.
All of it. Okay. I grew up on the numbered streets my first few years, and then my parents bought the house they're in now when I was like 6, and that was like the pad, you know. Like all their friends were still renting. They were in their 20s, so slumber party Jimmy Queens. Yeah.
You were like 6 years old, and like everyone wanted to come over to your house because you had cool parents. Yeah. And
I think I just kind of learned how to like adapt to different personalities and kind of know how to work with people. And then, dude, just even seeing like my pops and the way he struggled with certain things, like with alcohol, like his personality would change. So I would know, I think I naturally learned how to like adjust my personality to fit what he was going through. Yeah. And I had a lot of siblings. So
how many siblings did you have?
So I had an older brother, a younger sister, and a younger brother.
Okay.
Yeah.
And your parents lost a...
Yeah.
So tell me about that.
So my parents got together super young. They were actually like dated in middle school.
Okay.
My dad moved away, came back, came in hot into my mom's life again. Like she had a boyfriend, and her parents loved her boyfriend, and he was like on paper, a good guy.
Yeah.
My dad came in and pretty much blew a grenade on all
He was the bad guy.
Yeah. It was just
he was a bad boy.
He was just like a naturally like wild child, big personality, big character. They reconnected. They got married. I think like 19, they had my oldest brother, TJ. Then they had my other older brother, Mitch. And it was just one of those things where something, however it happened, like my older brother was an infant, like he was a newborn, and TJ somehow slipped through the cracks. They lost him in a drowning. So not something like...
You weren't born yet?
No, no.
Okay.
Usually not something most people survive, like as a marriage, you know? Having kids like myself now, like I can't imagine. Like I would die.
It would just devastate you.
Yeah. And it hits me different now, like being a dad, you know. I knew the pain. I knew they struggled. Like it would hit them periodically, like throughout my childhood, where I'd see them break down and stuff. But
so really fast, they were grieving, and then they had you. Yeah.
And you know what? Like they turned to, like, it was a big thing. Like that kind of brought them to God. They didn't have, they needed something, you know? So that was like a big turning point for them. I don't think my mom ever had intentions of having a big family. So I think losing your first, it changed everything. And sometimes like things happen to you in life and you don't understand. And it's like, why am I going through this? What's going on? But not that there's ever a real answer to why anyone would lose their kid, but maybe I wouldn't be here today, you know? So my mom decided to have a big family, and now we all pretty much have kids. And I don't know if it'll ever make sense to them, but I think God does have a plan for everybody, and you have to kind of live your whole life to see it unravel, you know?
Yeah. Did you experience any of the grieving when you were younger?
Oh, for sure. I mean, my mom became the glue, you know, like she
kept the family together.
Yeah. I mean, I can't imagine like her struggles, but I never really saw it. Like she just poured her love into us, you know, like she did. And my dad did too, but my dad had like alcohol, you know, and like it was a demon within him, and I didn't understand it when I was younger. I kind of knew. Yeah.
Do you feel like at that age you were processing it like it was a viable coping mechanism if you're dealing with emotions?
Yeah.
So you're processing it that way.
I kind of saw a lot like really young, and I think I was always pretty quick to observe. And even if I didn't understand why, I knew something was off. Like I always did, and then with his friends, it seemed to be normalized because they partied, but they were also like in their 20s and single. So partying to them was like, it was partying, where my dad, it became more like using,
Wow. But at the time though, did you look at it as being something cool to do?
It turned into that for sure. Like when I was younger, it would kind of bum me out or piss me off or, make me feel feelings I didn't understand how to cope with them yet. And then being in that environment and then seeing people that I looked up to also kind of living a lifestyle like that, I just thought it was fucking cool.
Yeah.
I'm like, and I was like born into it. So I'm like, this is part of me, like this is, I do, these kids want to go do this and that. Like this is around me every day, like I am this.
So how old when you had your first drink of alcohol?
Probably 6th grade, maybe, or something, maybe younger. Yeah. Gosh. I was like smoking weed by, middle 6th grade.
Yeah.
So
your friends thought that you were cool.
Yeah.
And you liked that.
Yeah, I did like it. It was like you get like social media wasn't out.
Right.
So you didn't get to post what you wanted people to portray you as. You just had a reputation.
Right.
And this was pre-social media. So like my reputation meant something, you know?
Yeah.
And I had an older brother that was ahead of his time too. And all of his friends were like way ahead of their time. Like those guys, like it's
ahead of their time.
Yeah. Like for their age, for what they were doing was bad, and then me being 2 years younger, now I want to keep up with them. Yeah. So like kids my age, I was in the fast track, like 100 miles ahead of them, to where I just knew a lot and saw a lot.
Would you say that there's a common denominator, even though you live a totally different lifestyle now than you did then? And we have a lot of stuff in between to kind of talk about, but just something that really kind of comes to my mind right now is you are really popular and you're really cool right now. Okay. You were really popular and you were really cool then. Right. But you have totally different approaches to that. Yeah. So before you were really popular and really cool, but you were trying to be what you thought other people would think was popular and cool.
Yeah.
And there's a transformation that has happened, which I want to talk about, where now you still have that desire, but now you're doing it in an authentic, organic way. And you found how to do it on your terms. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is that's your transformation that you've made. Right.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that transformation and how you got here, because there's still the cool Jimmy Queen. It's just a different version with the common denominator of you really fueling off of this. Yeah. Right. So let's talk about that.
I think in the beginning, I mean, we're all going to have an ego. Yeah. We're all going to like feel a little bit of care what people might view us as. I mean,
we all do.
That's there, and I kind of went through so much in my life. I mean, through the process of everything, like I had gone through my own hardships and then I had started a family super young, and it's like.
How young?
I was 20.
Oh yeah. That's young.
So wife was pregnant at 20. We had our first daughter right when we turned 21.
Wow.
So it was, I thought I knew what was up. Like I thought
20, you're an adult.
Dude, I thought I knew my shit and I didn't know anything about life, not about being a man. I thought I was, because I sold weed and I made money myself and I lived on my own from the second I graduated high school. I boned out and did my own thing, but like I didn't know about life. Yeah. I didn't know how to take care of someone. I was really barely taking care of myself, you know? So you start to realize, like having my daughter was like, okay, like life is bigger than me, like I am responsible for her. Like I was chosen to like
make
care
you grow
for her.
Up fast.
Yeah. And I made plenty of mistakes in the beginning still, but what I kind of learned was like, I don't care what anybody thinks about me. And I did throughout the process. So I'm not going to say like it was just like, I just, I don't care anymore. I'm a dad. I don't care what people think.
Yeah.
but I had to provide. So
Right.
how does that happen? I don't have
Right.
like certain skill sets. I didn't go to school. Like, what am I going to do? You know, I took like a restaurant job, which sucked, you know, like that hurt my ego. I'm not going to lie. It did, you know, like
What hurt your ego about it?
just being in a bar where I used to go to spend money and now I'm catering to other people, you know?
Do you have friends go in there?
Yeah. Friends would roll in and it's like, this sucks.
It
Like,
still bothers you.
Yeah.
You wanted to get out of that.
yeah, I knew
You don't ever want to go back.
no, but I learned from that, you know,
Okay.
like that was a good stepping stone for me because it checked
Yeah.
my ego. Like it was humbling, you
Yeah.
know, it's like, okay, like it affected, like I kind of looked down on myself,
Mm-hmm.
but in the end, like I was building myself up the right way and I had to go from step one because
Yeah.
I took shortcuts a lot in life, you know,
Yeah.
to where whether it was school, you know, I always made friends with my teachers.
Yes.
They cared about me. I could sweet talk them.
I can see
And
that.
I could do that with other students. I
Yeah.
didn't do my fucking homework. I didn't go to class, you know. I drop off coffee, smile, and give her a hug and leave, you know. So
You have what I like to call social intelligence.
yeah,
High level
Yeah.
social intelligence.
Yeah.
You figure out how to get what you want using your charm and
Mm-hmm.
your wit and your charisma. And you're kind of on this journey to figure out how to channel it in the right way.
Yeah.
Without realizing, maybe subconsciously.
for sure.
Yeah.
Dealing with people takes it requires like a skill set for sure.
I
You know?
agree. I agree with that.
Some people are naturally really good at it, but from like my own experience is like you take everything you've gone through in life.
Yeah.
And people have gone through maybe not what you went through, but
Yeah.
something similar, or maybe at least one of the challenges you've gone through. We're all relatable. Like we're all connected, you
Yeah.
know? And now it's like you find how you connect with people and that's
Yeah.
how you build like your circle, like naturally
Absolutely.
around you, you know?
I couldn't agree more. When you and your wife have an amazing relationship. You
Yeah.
have built it through so many highs and lows, and I've watched you two talk and your podcast, which I think is, I mean, the connection you guys have is awesome. I love
Yeah.
it. But you said when you first got together and had your first daughter, you had
Yeah.
your daughter. That's when you realized, oh my God, I thought I knew about life, but I didn't.
Yeah.
Okay, the struggles with having a child, also your initial struggles with marriage.
Yeah.
So tell me because you guys are on the other side of that now, but
Yeah.
what were your initial struggles?
Everything, you know, like
Nothing in particular.
by design, like in the world we live in today, like me and her shouldn't be together, you know, but
Yeah.
from you go back to ground one. Like my wife was from the second we had our daughter, she loved her, great mom, but she dealt with her own struggles too and things that she never coped with, you know,
Yeah.
and so it happens to a lot of girls, but she dealt with some gnarly stuff that it grew and got worse, you know? So yeah, like she loved our daughter, but dealing with her struggles and things that turned and morphed into addiction and like eating disorders and other things.
I was going to say, you don't have to talk about it if you don't
Yeah.
want to, but I'm sure she's really open about it all.
Yeah.
So.
And she brought it up and she went on and had talk. I never wanted to speak about it. I wanted her to tell her
But
story.
she's told her, you don't want to tell her story,
Yeah.
but maybe
Yeah.
just mention what it was that she
Yeah.
was.
So she was like assaulted when she was like 18. So, and it's crazy because when she went through that, her and I weren't together yet, but her and I had been friends for a long time. And like she opened up to me about it, you know? So it just created kind of like a special bond and connection between us because it's such a hard thing to do, especially with like the opposite sex, you know?
Yeah.
And like, we created a bond, but at the same, like, it made me always want to take care of her because I knew what she went through and I knew like
Yeah.
how fucked up it was,
Yeah.
you know? But then at the same time, like she wanted to be together and I wasn't ready. So I was like, I don't want to hurt this girl. So
You weren't operating off of your own, what you really wanted. You're operating off of the love and care that you had for her.
yeah.
Yeah.
Eventually she like drew me in and I caved and I was ready. But you know, like,
Yeah.
so as we became parents, and the thing that's so hard when you become a parent so young is to make like being a dad, I would say is naturally easy for me because you just love something so much and you just do. Like that's part of you. You brought this life in and they look
Yeah.
up to you. keeping your marriage up to date with that is a challenge.
Right.
You know, because you're not just mom and dad, you still need to be husband and wife.
Yeah.
And it's hard, like anyone that's been married. And then you throw
And you
in,
had to figure this out at 20.
Yeah. So like now you're tackling bills and you're trying to do this and you're being mom and dad. And then all of a sudden, like, where does that leave your marriage? You know, and we were just growing at different rates.
Yeah.
And when you don't grow together, you grow apart.
Yeah.
And that's just what happens, you know? So for a while it was cool and fun. We partied. We still were partying when we had our first daughter. Mom and dad wanted to like see the kid, or her mom and dad, you know, they'd help out. We'd go out. We'd go off, you know? And I thought I was doing good because I'm like, oh, I'm not partying every day. But when I do, like, I'm sending it to the moon, you know? And that's how I've always been.
You're like in your early 20s.
Yeah.
This is normal for that age.
Yeah, but I just wasn't like, you know, like the blackouts and just like the stupid stuff. And there was always drugs that followed with that too. And I knew at some point it was just I was done. The thing is like, you'll know when you want change in your life, but it's up to you to make change. And
I could not agree with that more.
No one's going to do it for you. And I remember
absolutely.
Like looking in the mirror, feeling like such crap, seeing my daughter like at home, and then like me remembering what I saw growing. I didn't want her to ever meet that version of me. And I just stopped. You know, I didn't dive into AA. I didn't dive into church really.
Wow.
I had always believed in God, but I had like reserves and resentments and other things as well. So,
so you had a habit, but you wouldn't say you had a clinical addiction.
Yeah, like I just had zero control.
You just didn't have control.
I had zero control. Like once I started, there's just no stopping. You know, like I never drank because I just loved the taste of beer. I drank to get fucked up. Yeah. You know, and to do that, like usually came with Coke and pills and anything. I always had access to it all, so I always had it all. Yeah. You know, and like that becomes a problem fast, you know? Yeah.
Take me to that moment you woke up and you were like, this has got to change. And you thought of your daughter and what your next steps were.
Yeah. So, I mean, my last night of partying was like when Conor McGregor fought Eddie Alvarez. So
you remember exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Last night, I drank till like 6 a.m. and was snorting Coke, and we ran out of Coke and we had Adderall, and we're chopping up Adderalls and whatever we could do. And it was just same old shit, you know? And like, everyone in Huntington kind of gets caught up in that same mix, and it's super normalized. And I knew they're not even in my book. Like I'm the chapter, I already have a family, and I just knew something needed to stop. Like, I don't want to be a lowlife, you know? And I'm not saying that those people are, but they didn't have the responsibilities that I had. So I knew I needed to step up.
Well, technically you all were doing low life stuff. Yeah. But everyone's capable of not being a low life.
For sure.
When you say
100%, you know? And like, I knew I needed change. I just started to dive more into like my own health. I loved fitness already. I was already working out. I had been working out for years. But it turned on when I got sober, you know, like instantly saw changes. And then following that, I got baptized. My parents never pushed it on us. I was the only one in my family who wasn't.
They wanted to come from you, your choice.
And I always believed in God, but I just had I knew how much good he's done, but I also had like resentments towards him as well. So like my dad, like when he would drink, he'd preach a little bit. And it pissed me off or embarrassed me, a little bit of everything, you know, like it was one of those things where it's totally normal to talk about God. Some people are like super shy about it naturally, but like my memories of like God being brought up a lot or like thrown in my face also came with like, he's drunk, you know? So when you continually hear something about someone, when it's followed up with a version of someone you don't like, I was putting blame on God and not the booze.
You're ascribing this connection. You're not able to fully comprehend the, compartmentalizing, God and religion with what it was attached to at the time was your dad when he was drunk.
Yeah.
And you were putting those two in tandem.
Yeah.
And you weren't able to really separate the two. But when you did, you started seeing the light.
Yeah. And I used to shy away from conversations a little bit with that in general, and it wasn't because I didn't believe in them or wasn't that I never prayed.
You had it attached to something that you didn't want to think about.
I did. And it wasn't like my own personal relationship with him. It was, and it's sad because my dad, I think he always knew he wanted to make change. And I think in a really weird way, like as you bury yourself into that, like you're drowning yourself with alcohol, still something like deep down within him, like was pushing him towards something good. It just came out wrong because you're drinking, but God was always with him and he never turned away from him. So
it's the same scenario, but you're totally reassessing it. You're looking at it in a totally different way now.
Yeah. And then, and then when like one of my training partners, quite a bit older than me, a lot of life experience, addiction, dude, gone through it all, prison, making meth, selling meth, punk rock bands. Dude, he's done it all, and he has that look like that I was always attracted to when I was young, like tattooed down.
Right.
He's big, he's intimidating.
I mean, this is your look too.
Yeah. Yeah. But
you're describing yourself.
Yeah. Like, so.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah. He had gotten sober and he was like a pastor. And that, like, not full time, but that was something he did. And then you start to see people that you kind of relate to, and there's just like, they're open and like praising Jesus, and it's like, oh, wow, this is crazy.
Right.
And I respect this guy, and he's like not embarrassed, that he's not shying away from it. And he just hit me up in the gym one day and was like, dude, you should get baptized. And I was like, okay. I'll do it.
Something interesting is you were saying that we all, before we even started this, you were talking about how everybody has it in them to get to the highest level in bodybuilding if they
100%.
put it into their mindset. It's interesting how you are able to reassess the exact same situation because you've changed your mindset. You took the exact same scenario, your dad, talking about, God while he's drunk, you're looking at it one way. Then you start to see people who are successful, who are accomplishing things, who are getting over addiction, who are, doing something with their life, who are associated with, God and religion and everything like that. So now you're starting to think, well, maybe this is something that I want to actually run towards.
Yeah.
And now you're reassessing your situation with your dad, and all that happened in your mind. You completely shifted that.
Yeah.
Right? Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
You were able to do that?
There's everything in life's about perception. You know what I mean? Like we could have a topic today and then tomorrow it's like, oh, well, Wendy brought up a point. Now I'm like, I'm changing my viewpoint to your viewpoint, and you could just see something totally different. And that's why like you have to give people grace in your life.
Oh, that's exactly what I was thinking when you said that.
Like, and true grace.
Yes.
And that's when to touch back to what me and my wife went through. Like I got sober before her. Mm-hmm. I made a lot of changes, and in a lot of ways she was self-destructing while I felt like I was trying to better myself.
Right.
And it brought a lot of destruction into our lives, but she went through it and she was making the changes. I thought I was done. The guy that got me to get baptized was actually the one friend, like you and I were talking before we started, who you have in your life and who you take advice from is you need to be very careful. Yeah. You need to have the right people in your corner that they're going to like look out for your life in your best interest and not their viewpoint. You know what I mean? Because when your life implodes and family's involved and friends are involved, they care about you. Naturally, they're going to get upset. They're going to have view whoever hurt you a certain way. So
but they don't have ulterior motives. That's what you have to be careful about.
Yeah, for sure. And when my wife was in treatment, I was working out with him and I'm like, he's like, what are you going to do? I'm like, I'm done. I'm moving on. I'm getting her a spot and we're done.
Yeah.
And he was just like, hey bro, like, I will support you regardless of your decision, but remember, she's making these changes right now and you might miss out on the best version of her. Oh. And I was like, whoa.
Whoa, that's heavy.
Where
like,
no one's told me that. Like no
wow.
one has told me to think that far down the line. And I was like, whoa, you know, her actions made his words valuable because I saw changes. You know, if she was just doing the same thing, it'd be like, okay, whatever. But I saw her making those changes and I gave it another shot, you know? And to this day, I've never, and I like, when I said give people grace, like when you forgive, you need to forgive.
Right.
You know?
I agree with
I'm not saying you need to forget, but you need to forgive.
Right.
Fully.
Yeah.
And
not hold it over their head.
Yeah.
And save it for like a rainy day.
Yeah. And I say that because I'm guilty of that.
Right.
I've thrown shit in people's faces a lot when I said, hey, I forgive you. And then the next time we get in an argument, it's like right back at that one deal.
Right.
You know, and when me and my wife said we're doing this and we're going to do it right, like we've gotten in fights since then. We're human, we're married.
I mean, you're human, right?
Yeah, I've never brought up that.
Right.
You know, I forgave her 100% and I love her 100%. And I contributed in ways that I didn't know. Like we were saying, perception.
Right.
You know, I was an instigator. I didn't want to deal with the problems.
Yeah.
I saw them. I knew there was stuff going on. I didn't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
I was busy. I was working. I wanted to hit the gym. I wanted to be a dad.
Yeah.
I knew my wife was struggling more than she was letting out, and I wasn't hammering down as much as I should have.
Yeah.
You know, but when you get to the other end, it's crazy because when you're going through struggle, and so many people are going through struggle right now, and I talk to people every day that are having a hard time, it's like you need to accept it, because when you're going through these struggles, that's when you're going to grow the most.
Oh, gosh.
That's when you're going to find out who you're made of. And honestly, I don't think God throws anything at us that we can't handle. And when you get out on the other side, you go, damn, I am fucking strong. You know, like I look at life now, like bring it on.
Yeah.
I've gone through way harder stuff. I will go after anything, and I know I'm capable.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not scared. I'm not saying that I'm not scared of anything.
Yeah.
But I will go after it as hard as I can, full force, because if life couldn't take me out with what it threw at me before, I mean, dude, you better be ready for a fight. You know what I mean? So it's built me, and it built our marriage. Like we weren't best friends the whole time. We started off as best friends in our marriage. We lost it.
Yeah.
And now we got it back. It's like, dude, good luck getting in between us. You know, we're a fucking team.
Yeah.
And I'm stronger with her and she's stronger with me. But it took our lives to implode for us to gain the growth that we did together. So like looking back, when I was in the mix, I was mad. I was like, God, what? I got baptized. I'm working my ass off to provide. I'm doing it legit and legal.
Right.
I'm doing everything.
Legit and legal.
I'm doing everything right. And I'm being tested so hard. Like, why? Now I'm on the other end and I got the answer why. Because he built me into who I am. And he built my marriage into what it is. You know, if we didn't go through that stuff, we wouldn't have the communication we have.
Yeah.
I don't think we would have both fallen in love with fitness and health and just like, it's everything.
Yeah.
So sometimes it takes destruction to rebuild, and to rebuild it the way you should.
I mean, disruption is the root of most success stories.
Yeah.
It's a commonality that I find with anyone who's hugely successful. There was some big disruption where they just like woke up one day and they were like, I got to do something about this. You know what I mean? Yeah. But also it's interesting because what you do when helping people, right, is I'm sure that you deal with people all the time who are struggling with, marriage and success and via the vessel of fitness, a lot of people do change all those other things in their life, right? Yeah. And to take somebody who has the cool factor and you're able to really connect to people, it's kind of like you're able to use fitness as your vessel to help people. Totally. Because that's kind of what your knack has always been, but now you're channeling it into this new place. So with that, I have a question for you. Yeah. You work with so many people. Do you have any idea, really fast before I ask my question, any idea about how many clients you have on the roster right now?
I'd have to like even look at the
Like,
number. It's up
over
there. Over
100.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And I know you give them all your time. Do you feel like there's a certain type of person that is generally attracted to you? Because we all give off certain energies. And I feel like we have.
Yeah. I get a variety. It's crazy because
Yeah.
I come from like a blue collar world, but it's so relatable. So a lot of like police, a lot of firefighters, obviously a lot of blue collar. But someone is always going to relate to, like I said, there's layers, and people will always find something where they go, damn, I kind of see myself in that. And I've talked to people that have hit me up because they struggled with similar family things.
Yeah.
To drinking. A lot of people I talk to in sobriety because sobriety's changed my life.
Yeah.
And it either changed theirs or they want it to, or they heard a podcast with me and my wife and our struggles, or because I have kids. Some people have hit me up just because I surf and we have that in common. So there's always going to be layers. The best part is like why I love fitness and why it is so important is because nobody could do it for you.
Nope.
I'm here to guide you. I could give you the tools. You could freaking bring the horse to water. You can't make it drink it. The thing that's beautiful with fitness, and it's the same with sobriety, and that's why I love to tie them together, is when you do the work, you start to find out what you're capable of. And it's amazing.
Yes.
I always kept myself in a box.
Yeah.
I didn't dive into this world because I excluded myself on purpose because there was an extremely high amount of talent out there. I'm like, I can't, where do I fit in?
Right.
And the thing is I was putting myself in a box before I had even tried.
Right.
And when you start to just put in the work, and it could be in fitness and sobriety, it really is one day at a time. But when you become aware that you are capable, I mean, you could literally do anything.
Well, but interestingly, you put so much work into just really just being you.
Yeah.
You realize that it was you all along.
Oh, totally.
From the very beginning, when you were chasing after things that you thought were going to make you cool, like you've gotten to this point in your life and you're like, oh my God, it's me.
Yeah.
Like I'm the one, right?
Yeah.
And that's got to be a crazy thing to realize. You know what I mean?
Forever I cared what people thought.
Yeah.
I mean, like the way I dressed.
Yeah.
Just the whole shabam. And like, it's funny because
It's crazy that that's the secret.
Yeah.
The secret is you being you.
Yeah, 100%. And that was something when I had started social media. One of my wife's best friends, I had just started posting some stuff. Like everybody else, the videos suck. Like workout video.
Just you being you.
Yeah.
Just not caring about how many views it would get. You're just like putting it out there.
And my wife's girlfriend hit me up, and she knows about social media, but she's like, dude, where are you? She's like, I love you, and I'm not seeing you. And she's like, you need to put you out there.
Yeah.
Like just you. And I'm like, all right. Like, and that's hard. Like,
so really fast. So what you're saying is your original video content was a little stiff and trying to be maybe what you thought other fitness people were doing.
For sure. And I was just like testing the waters because I had an Instagram already, but I had never used it. So
you're doing like some tried and true videos. You kind of peeked around and you're like, I could do that too.
Yeah. And like, it's weird because like being in Huntington and the surf culture, again, this comes down to just, you have to drop your ego. Like, you don't post yourself. You don't put yourself on this platform, especially with like your shirt off. Like, look at me. Like where I come from, you get beat up for that. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like there was, and again, like even though I had my family and my daughters, like I could care less what people think. It still made me like, well, I knew when I dove in to like doing this, I'm like, I have to. Dude, none of it matters. I have my family. They love me. I love them. I'm going to do me. Yeah. No one else is, we have one life. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm going to try, and I'm not going to try half-ass. I'm going to give it a real shot. Yeah. And I knew I had to portray who I am. And when my wife's girlfriend kind of told me that, it was like, okay, like, because I know who I am. And my wife was telling me, and everyone in my circle had been telling me to do this. And they've, kind of like what you said, like, oh, like people are drawn to you and you just have something about you. you hear that from the people you love, but it's kind of like, okay, like how's the world gonna, you know?
But
so
go ahead.
Yeah, like I think that made me evaluate a little bit of like, I need to showcase myself, like, and just be me. I'm gonna dress how I always dress. I like button ups. I slick my hair back. I fucking dance like an idiot because I have daughters, and that's how I've always been, dude. Like, I'm not like this mean dude. And people have told me in the gym, like, oh, I would have never thought you were as nice as you are. I'm like, because there's like some tattoos and muscle or whatever. So I just was like, I'm going to do me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be like Mr. Bodybuilder. I'm going to be
That's
a
not
dad.
who you are. Yeah.
I'm a dad. I'm a husband. I'm just Jimmy Queen. You know?
I have a question. Has your perception changed now? Like, do you view the social media world differently now than when you very first got into it? Because when you first got into it, you were trying to, maybe we'll say you were trying to copycat, right?
Yeah.
What you thought was going to be successful till you had somebody in your ear saying, we need to see more of you. Now, do you look and see what people are doing and feel like there's a lot of cookie cutter? Like, how's your perception on that?
Yeah, when you start to really like utilize social media, it's a pretty interesting thing. Like, you've been in the game for a while. First of all, social media could do a lot of good. Like, it can. It could be amazing.
It really can.
I have relationships and connections like all around the world that I would never have without it. And they're real relationships and they're real connections. And it's pretty damn rad how you could just jump on like an Instagram phone call with someone in Australia and check in on them and be like, dude, how's life? You know, and it's rad. And I have some like rad clients in Australia, and it's cool. And I love it, you know? And, but the other side of it is it could be dark and it is mischievous and people are full of shit. You know what I mean? Like, and it's kind of funny. And I'm surprised so many people are so caught up trying to be somebody else. I don't get it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, you do get it because you sort of.
Yeah.
Right?
Like But for me, it was more just like trying to, I'm like, okay, well, I want to coach. So I'm going to show working out. I wasn't trying to like do it how other people were. I just wasn't showcasing. Because it's kind of weird, like your Instagram, like your profile is your business card, dude. Like that's, so if it's workout, people are gonna be like, dude, this dude lives in the gym. And it's like, I don't.
You know what, I think also there's a lot of awareness here, because to go down the road so far to where you see people that are like a cartoon of themselves with Photoshop, doing things that seem cookie cutter or whatever, for so long, you know, trying to take off the ground that way. Just a version of them that is like elusive, right? I think that we all probably initially see something that we think, oh my God. But if you have self-awareness, you start going down that road and someone either gets in your ear, you have enough self-awareness, you look at yourself and you go, this is not me. I mean, we all initially maybe go into something new, like how can I jump as fast as I can, as far as I can. And then with the self-awareness, you back off and you go, no, I need to be myself. This is ridiculous. But what I think is crazy, if you agree with this, is that you see so many people, they almost lack that self-awareness. It's like they go so far down that rabbit hole of they're like literally a non-version of themselves. And that I think is crazy. And that juxtapose that with you, and that's kind of your secret. You have been able to maintain this ability to filter out all the stuff and continue to grow in your own unique way.
For sure. And I mean, at the end of the day, you have to know who you are. You have to have some, like, we all have like these foundational pillars, you know, and like, I know what mine are. I know what my priorities are, you know, like it's God, my family, my health. And then obviously you have to have business and friends. All those are very important to me. Trying to sustain them all and balance them all is a challenge. But, and then maybe I'll never have that balance, but I know when some of them I'm lacking in, I have to give a little bit more, you know? And with people in like social media, they just throw it all out. Like they care so much, dude. Like they want to like go viral.
I know.
I post things that I know aren't going to do good on social media. Like, I know it's not going to go viral. I don't care.
Yeah.
It's a part of me.
And sometimes that's what makes it go viral.
Yeah.
Isn't
And
that crazy?
like, for people that are trying to like if you're so worried about taking off, no one's going to relate to you, dude.
Right.
Like, I will literally post stuff and I just want to showcase me. And you know what's funny? It gets maybe crap views or whatever, but I get phone calls, you know, like, hey man, I saw you with your family and like, I just had a daughter and like, that's what we do on Tuesdays. And all of a sudden you have connections. So,
and that means more to you. Yeah.
You can't worry about like the likes and the views and the fucking whatever.
Yeah.
You know, like you have to be you.
Yeah.
You know, and like we're lacking authenticity in every angle in this world. Like people care so much about who they should be that they don't even know who the fuck they are anymore. You know, and it stems from the top. Politics, actresses, actors, like, dude, who cares?
I know.
You know what I mean?
It's like, an observation, but it's also a defense at the same time, because I almost feel bad, you know, when people go so far down that road where they are a non-version of themselves and they have to keep up with it. Once you create a persona, you have to maintain that persona.
Yeah, 365 days
and that has
of
to
being
be
somebody
so
else.
Stressful.
Yeah, and I think that's a huge part with sobriety, just in general. Like, you have to rebuild your whole engine when you get sober. Like,
it's the disruption that needs to happen. Yeah,
like most of us lean towards a vice because we want to bury ourselves from something or something we're not happy with within ourselves. So when you get sober, like there's a layer of vulnerability that you have to deal with.
Yeah.
You don't have a choice, you know, social group settings, whatever it may be, like you learn how to cope with that on your own. You can't hide behind like a bottle of Jack. Like, dude, I was able to drink a bottle of Jack and I can throw me in with anybody.
Yeah.
I'm cool. I'll run with them all night. And like being sober, I had to like people that probably saw me as a certain version of me when they knew me when I was drunk, they got a completely different version, but I had to learn how to like socially adapt again.
Yeah.
You know, which is, it had some growing pains a little bit, but you learn to become your authentic self again. You have to rebuild the motor. You got to throw out the old motor. You throw in a brand new LS and figure out who you are, you know, and that part's huge. And you have to accept who you are. And like, dude, who cares? Like what people, you can't make everybody happy.
Yeah.
You won't. Like I piss people off by doing nothing to them.
Yeah.
And I still get hate, you know?
Yeah.
And it is what it is. But the people that that's what's cool about social media.
Yeah.
People tend to like focus on the hate, but there's a lot of positive.
Yeah.
You know, like even I'm sure with like bodybuilding and everything else, it's such a, dude, it's all perspective. It's all opinionated. So you're going to get crap for everything you do. But on the other side of that, what people don't usually put the focus points on is like, who have you helped?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You've sustained a very long career, a lot longer than I knew of.
Yeah.
That you were telling me before.
Yeah.
So when you get these other young females that want to get into this, like by you being open with who you are and how you've had longevity, you could share that.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
So where maybe people were giving you crap, like you could be doing this, this, and this. It's like, but that's not you.
Yeah.
You know?
You're a natural coach.
Yeah.
So this is something that I actually find that I do too. You meet someone and you're on this mission to like figure out what their special quality is. When you meet somebody, like what do they offer? Can they hone in on? And you're like, your wheels are spinning on that, you know?
Yeah.
Because everybody really does have something special and unique to offer.
100%.
And for you as a coach, that seems to be naturally in you. It's a gift also that you have.
Yeah.
Right? Do you find yourself doing that?
For sure. You know, like you're going to get what you put into things. Like for me, like the coaching part, like that's where like the fulfillment is, you know? And when you get like people that open up to you that haven't met you, you know, and they open up to you truly. Yeah. And I've had people tell me this. They're like, dude, I've never talked about this to anybody.
But they feel comfortable with you.
Yeah. And first of all, like that's a blessing. You know, I'm like super grateful to even play a role in someone's life where they're trusting me, you know, and it means a lot. And I hold serious value to it.
Yeah.
And I feel for them, like, and I do, you know, like I've cried on the phone. It's gnarly. Like I've heard some shit and it hurts. Like I've had people call me that have lost their kid, and it brought me to my parents, and I broke, you know, and I couldn't hold it back. I didn't want to break, but I did, you know, and to know someone's going through that type of pain and they need something, that's what's cool. Like to be able to be there, you know, like you can't buy that. And that means more to me than what I don't fucking care about Instagram fame.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you're caring more about one thing and you want to focus on a following or whatever, like you need to know how to connect with people and relate, and then also show up.
Yeah.
You know, I've had hard conversations like recently, you know, to where people are struggling, you know, and it hurts to have conversations and see people struggle. But when they call you when they are hurting, you're doing something right.
Yeah.
Because they went to you again,
Yeah.
you know? So I think I've always loved people, especially people that I know that are in my circle. I'm just naturally going to want to care for them and give them some type of advice. I was kind of always that, even when I was younger. I had to learn how to open up myself because I always felt like people come to me. So,
well, there's layers to that too, because you weren't really confronting opening up. You used a vice. You pacified yourself a little bit. Once you got rid of that layer, then you confronted it.
Yeah. And you know, it's crazy because I used to not be open with my struggles because I wanted people to have that perception that I'm strong and this and that. And when I knocked down the walls and I was open and I've talked about my own personal struggles, whether it was my ego, stuff with my wife, like that's where people are like, fuck, dude, that's Jimmy Queen. Like they get to know me now.
Yeah.
But I used to hide all that because I didn't want people to see my mistakes.
I'm curious about something though, because for me, I always have this reservation about opening up too much about things I'm struggling with. And the reason why is because I feel like there's an energy that comes back to me that puts me in a bad place. Okay. Like if I share something maybe negative that I went through, I worry that there's an energy that's going to come back that's going to like make me sit with that energy. You know what I mean? And the second thing to that is I also feel like sometimes people try to offer their advice, or they, you know, maybe somebody who's struggling, it makes them feel a little bit stronger, more powerful, to be like, it's okay. Like, you know, keep your head up. And you don't, me personally, I like to feel strong and powerful, and I don't want people to feel sorry for me.
Yeah.
So how do you get past that? Because I know you do.
Yeah, there's like a certain level of energy, I think, but I think it, like with me, that just plays such a role in just being my authentic self.
That's
so
just you.
I have to put it out there, you know. People are going to respond different ways, but if you are going through a struggle or you've gone through a struggle, you need to be confident enough in yourself that you've made the proper changes, or you're still working on it. Because with anything, I mean, I fixed my marriage. It doesn't mean it's just fixed.
Yeah.
I continue to implement certain things to keep that marriage strong. Like you get sober, you're not just done, you know, for you, you're going on the Olympia stage again. Like you don't hit a physique of conditioning and just go, I'm good. I did it. It's an ever evolving thing. Like the things you care about, you nurture, you water them, you continue to take care of them, you know? So I do think some people could maybe like put out certain struggles or whatever, but you need to be proactive. Like if you are going to be the person that is constantly pouring out struggles, but you're not making any changes, they're not going to, it's not going to happen on its own. And maybe, I don't think you could worry. Maybe some people are worried about, maybe some people want to use it for attention or vice versa.
I see that all the time too.
Yeah. So, but it's about being I think people always are going to benefit if you're an open book, you know, because someone's going to relate to it. Someone needs to hear it. Yeah. Especially like if you are put on a platform to where your voice could be heard, you know, to where, you know, some people, there's a lot of beautiful, amazing people out there. If their voice was put on the platform, it would do a lot of good. Yeah. And I think for me, like why I share everything that I go through is because I didn't have a lot of people. I wish I would have had someone to look up to that was a little bit more positive when I was younger. Maybe had an image or a look that I was attracted to, but he was still a good person.
Yeah.
And I didn't have that. And I want to be that for the younger generation. You know, I want people to know, dude, regardless if you're big or in the gym and you're tattooed down and you have a certain style, you could still be a really good person. Like an image is an image.
Yeah.
But sometimes that image does help you draw in people, you know, because people relate to you.
See, that fascinates me. It fascinates me that you have gotten to this point in your life without having any real role models, and you've just kind of figured it out. You just kind of, at every phase of your life, you just kind of, you know, would fall and then you'd figure out how to get back up. And you didn't really have anyone to teach you how. There was no how-to book for you.
No.
And I mean, you did you had some huge life lessons early on that a lot of people don't at the age of 19, 20.
Yeah.
You know, that's pretty crazy.
I think something that I've done to where it was never down to one person, but I think if you're going to come across all varieties of people in your life, you need to learn what things to take from them.
Right.
You know, like, okay, I like that little piece from him is great.
Yeah.
Not the rest. But as I've met people and I've let people in my life, there's always something to learn from someone. I'm like really big on that. I think everyone has a different perception and a different viewpoint. And this is
your social intelligence too.
Yeah. There's little bits and pieces to where you could take from them and learn from that and utilize that into your life. But just a fraction, because not the whole cup is too much, you know? So as I've met all these people through life, I've kind of seen, I have learned to kind of take the bits and pieces that I like and apply it to my own to create the life that I want.
That's so cool. You are such an awesome person. And it's like, it's crazy because you're just you.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like there's this crazy, you know, you don't, it's not this ornate over the top. It's really just somebody who has achieved such a high level of success by mastering the art of being himself.
You. Yeah.
How crazy is that? It's a pretty wild concept, especially in this day and age. You know what I mean? So let's talk about you in the future. Where are you going? Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
It's a good question. I'm never going to put a ceiling on it. I definitely want.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. I've learned to not do that. Definitely don't ever put a ceiling on it. I think sometimes we don't know who we are or where we're going, but we definitely know who we aren't and who we don't want to be. And that's something.
Oh, that's good. Oh, that was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've applied that to my life and I think a lot of people need to know that because especially like young men, like you're just built into like, you need to know who you are. You don't always really need to know who you are, but you definitely, like when I had gotten sober, I knew when I was looking in the mirror, that's not who I am. That's not who I want to be. Did I know where I was going at the time? No, but it led me to where I am.
Everything happens for a reason. And like you said, you've had to learn a lot on your own, and all the falls and setbacks and you having to get back up has made you realize that you're going to learn who you are by falling. Yeah, and a lot of people have somebody that's there to catch them when they fall, but you're learning so much about yourself because of the fact that you had to figure out how to get back up. Yeah. That's how you learn.
And those aren't failures. And that's where people get stuck. Like, dude, you need to try. Yeah. You need to push. You need to open the doors, kick them fucking down and see what's up. Because where I was, like you asked, where am I going to be in 5 years? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't want to put a ceiling on it. Before, I used to put myself in that box too often because I wasn't confident enough to go out and do it. And those are the failures for me, is like, I'm getting in my own way, you know?
That's a good point, actually. That's a really good point.
As soon as I got out of my own way and just became like 100% my authentic self, I started to realize what I was capable of. And that's what I want. That's what I push on my clients. Do I want you to get in great shape? 100%. Right. Having a 6-pack, super cool. Right. But there's so much that comes from that, because that's, you start to realize what you're capable of. You got yourself in shape. Now you start applying that same level of discipline, that same level of consistency in everything else in your life, whether it's your being a father, a good husband, a better employee, start your own business. You built yourself up. You got yourself in shape. I was there for you, but now you could literally take the tools. Now you have the confidence.
Yeah.
You built yourself up. Like now you just start applying it into everything you do in life. Who freaking knows, dude, what you could do. And like with me, I would love to scale it more, you know, and not just do fitness coaching, but I love helping people. I love those conversations. Yeah. Like I've had some really deep ones this week. Like a big thing with my team is I do like group Zoom calls. So it's not just about the health and the fitness. Obviously I use the phone call, like the group Zoom call, to where we dive into questions and everything else. But I want that community to grow amongst each other. Yeah. Not just me. Yeah. Like your network is your net worth. Yep. You know what I mean? So follow each other on Instagram, build those relationships. Everybody, I'm always going to. Men and women you work with? Okay. Yeah. I'm always going to pour in everything I have to offer, but sometimes you have something, your perspective is going to be better suited for someone else than me. And they just relate to that more. So why not? You're stronger in numbers. Right. Drop the ego, dude. You don't need to be, I try to walk alone. It don't work that well. You know what I mean? Yeah, I agree with that. Check the ego, like connect with the people. And it's so rad because when we're on those group Zoom calls, like everyone has something in common automatically, because you would not have called me and signed up on my team if you weren't looking for some type of self-improvement. Well, they're all in the same place at the same time. They have that in common. Yeah. Which is actually profound if you think about it. Yeah. Because they're all making the decision to make some type of change all at the same time. And to have anybody doing the same thing as you at the exact same time is rare. It's rare. And dude, it's super rare when like it's Thursday evening for me. It's Thursday night for my boys on the East Coast. It's Friday morning for my guys in Australia, you know? So it's like, I love it. That's like, so cool. It is cool. That is cool. I think it's great because the one thing, like when I had first gotten sober, I felt like no one else in Orange County really was. They were out there. Yeah. I just didn't know where they all were, you know? And I'm so blessed. Like I've built such a good team around me. You feel like everyone's getting drunk. Everyone's doing drugs because like you're surrounded by it. So you think that's what everyone's doing. Yeah. And I didn't like everyone that I loved and kind of was in my life was on like a way different path than I was. So that's what I want to bring to my team is like most people that I talk to, they don't have a great foundation of people in their life that also want self-improvement. They're alone. So by like putting everybody together in the same room, I think it's awesome. Yeah. And, you give them that. You give them that. And I want to try to create like a family amongst them, you know? That's awesome. And because people like what people don't understand is change doesn't happen overnight. No. I'm almost 8 years in, you know? And now it's my wife sober, my best friend sober, my dad's sober, my mom's sober, my sister got sober. So congratulations to all of them. Yeah. And that's amazing. There's a bunch of others, you know, and like, I'm fortunate enough to play a role in their life and hopefully their sobriety and everything else. But were you the beginning of the chain reaction for that? Amongst them, yeah. That's awesome. Dude, my best friend was way deeper than I was ever in anything to where I didn't think I'd ever get him back. I thought he would die. I'm sorry. Yeah. And it was crazy because he had called me, or maybe I'd called him. This was a long time ago, but his family was trying to get him to go to treatment. And this is God, you know, for me, this is God works in weird ways. I don't think anything's by accident. I told him I was 2 months sober and we hadn't talked because he was so strung out. And he was like, he just told me this on my 7-year anniversary of being sober, but he was like, after I talked to you and you said you were sober, he's like, I just decided I'd go to treatment, you know? And I was like, fuck, I never knew that. You just gave me chills. Yeah. And then what was super weird was I was probably 6 months into sobriety. One of my best friends, his dad died and I loved him. I mean, the guy treated me like his son. He'd leave me lunch money, took care of me, drove me. I mean, dude, the punk rock shows, and unfortunately we would drink together at but I looked up to him, and he was just a freaking amazing person. So when he passed, I mean, what do you do? Like, we linked up with all the boys and everyone was drinking, and they handed me a beer. It's nothing against them. It was just what we did. And I was like, no, I'm not drinking you. They're like, dude, like, come on. We're doing it for him. And I was like, all right, and I cracked the beer open. My best friend showed up, who was 2 months behind me in sobriety. And he was like, no, Jimmy's not drinking. So it was like,
that gave me chills too.
It came back full circle. Like, I was kind of there for him in the beginning. He showed up for me when I needed him. And we've always been there for each other. I love him more than anything. We've been best friends for 22 years. Wow. And that's mine and his story constantly, but you need that support. People need that in their life, but.
So what about when you look back and you see your life, in the past, and you see your life moving forward? Here we are. This is the Make Your Mark series, and you have and you are making your mark. What mark, if you were to look back, do you feel that you would like people to say you've made?
I want people to know they're a lot more capable than they realize by being them, genuinely them.
Yeah.
Go for it, swing, believe in yourself, trust yourself, put all the noise aside and do you and see what happens. More likely than not, I think we are all way more capable than we know, and you'll never know if you don't try, and that's what I've learned through myself. I'll never speak on things that I haven't experienced and I haven't done. And, that I know for sure. And I tell them I'm doing it. If I could do it, so can you. You know what I mean? If I'm doing it, you guys go for it, because it could happen.